Hello, and thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my esteemed colleague, my partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person is my everything. It's at Eric Dalala.
Phil, good to see you.
It's great to see you. Happy Thanksgiving, Eric.
Thanks, Phil. You too. I'm grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you.
Thankful for you.
Thankful. Yeah. I think both can be used.
Both. Yeah. They mean about the same thing.
Yeah. Great giving.
Yeah. It has a nice ring to it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is, of course, the Thanksgiving Day edition of the Neutral Zone.
Yes, it is.
So I hope everybody listening is having a great Turkey Day. Hopefully you're enjoying some family, friends, some football, and some good food.
That's right.
You have a nice meal, pop on the Neutral Zone, gather around. And
go straight to sleep.
Yeah, I guess that's true. The tryptophan.
Yeah.
I should also mention joining us in studio, the one and only Ben Swanson.
Devontae Adams did that. Well, he didn't tryptophan, he pushed a fan.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a fan, really. It was somebody working with a media pass. So,
but for the purposes of the joke,
it was nice.
It kind of had to be
tryptophan.
Yeah.
What about like when one of those like streakers comes onto the field and then the player just tackles them, like the Bobby Wagner?
Yep. That happened this weekend at the Broncos game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Wearing a Howie Long jersey. It wasn't really. There's no streaking involved, but just some running.
Yeah. A crazy fan.
And they tripped a fan.
There he goes.
Exactly.
Yeah. I did mention that Ben Swanson is joining us in studio here.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay.
Thanks for letting me come back every week.
On Thanksgiving, usually not everybody's here, but, there's some fill-ins or some replacements who are making things run, because it's the holidays.
Uh-huh.
But we're all here.
That's right.
It's nice.
We got our guy Reed upstairs.
Reed is upstairs.
Making this whole thing happen for us.
Yeah.
The whole family is here, really.
Really, yeah. This is sort of our Thanksgiving.
Right.
Yeah.
We got the turkey going back in the other side of UCL Training Center.
In the control room?
Yep.
Yeah.
Going to go pull it out. We're going to eat here, of course.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me back like when Madden used to have, the 6 legs on the turkey. You are way too young for that. You know that John Madden used to do?
He does video games.
Broadcasting, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he used to bring out a turkey after the game, 6 legs on the turkey, and the Cowboys would usually gather around Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith.
Mm-hmm.
They'd all eat the turkey afterward while they're being interviewed.
Turducken.
Madden liked the turducken, yeah. But I don't think he gave that to the team, the winning team. So, nice little story there. Yeah. I should mention that on this episode of the Neutral Zone, we're going to be, we're going to get into some Thanksgiving shenanigans a little bit later.
Okay.
A little bit later. Eric's not a fan of it, but I think that it's a fun discourse.
Yeah. If we simply did the things I wanted to do on this show, Phil, it'd be very different.
That's why this is a partnership.
Yeah, exactly.
I bring it down, you bring it back up.
You're like, should we talk about this? And I'm like, I don't really think so. And then you're like, perfect. We'll talk about that in segment 2, which is the most important.
But first, before the most important thing we're going to talk about is injuries.
Yeah.
Which is what Eric wanted to talk about. Yeah.
Correct.
We're going to rank the injuries that have taken place for the Broncos this season, our top 3.
Okay.
Is that the worst? I guess it's the top 3 in terms of the impact that it's made.
Yeah.
But for the Broncos, it's the worst 3.
Wow.
Kind of confusing.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah. So for the Broncos, the worst 3 injuries that have taken place.
Yep. And then at the end, Phil, we're going to talk about ham sandwiches for at least 4 minutes.
Yeah. Some people were not happy about that, huh?
Yeah.
The ham sandwich. Why did you do that?
It's an interactive show.
Ben Swanson, what did you think we should be talking about?
All Thanksgiving.
Oils. Mostly oils today. Or
paintings?
Yeah.
That's the perfect
watercolors.
Post-meal activity.
That's
nice
true.
Watercolor.
That's true.
Some nice crayons.
Yeah, crayons. Yeah. That's at your house, the crayons.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's nice. So that's what we're going to talk about on this episode.
Perfect.
Before we get into anything of substance, we do have to say all of the ways that fans can get in touch with the show. We will have a voicemail later on.
Oh, we will?
We'll have a voicemail.
Who's it from?
It's from Brandon in Iowa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brandon from Iowa.
From, who knows where he actually
That's
is.
right.
Yeah, but he is from Iowa.
Yeah.
I think he's in Iowa too.
From and in.
We wish Brandon, of course, a happy Thanksgiving
Of course.
as well.
One of our best fans.
We really wish all of NZ Nation a happy Thanksgiving.
That's right. Phil, if you want to be like Brandon from and maybe in Iowa, you can leave an email at neutralzoneshow@gmail.com. You can leave a voicemail at 707-NEUTRAL.
Yep. We just made that up.
Correct. Yep. Ben Swanson listens to it. He decides if you're good enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you include a credit card number,
he puts you right on.
Expiration date, it helps.
It gets you to the front of the line.
Yeah. So you can also tweet at us directly on Twitter, at Eric Dalala with an A, at Phil Milani with a PH. You, of course, have a fake check mark that you purchased. Or at Broncos Podcasts and Broncos Podcasts.
Right, Podcasts.
That's the more active one.
Yeah. Broncos Podcasts.
That's right.
Yeah. And there's a lot of fake at Eric Dalala accounts.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Don't trust those.
No.
Make sure you click the blue check mark to make sure it's the real.
You want to make sure that they're not a cat guy. You want to make sure they're a cats guy.
Cats guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Podcasts.
Exactly.
Right? Did I do that right?
Yep.
Of course, you could also watch the show on the Broncos official YouTube page.
Yeah.
We're live on that channel every Monday from exactly 5:30 to about 6:15.
Yes.
And we broadcast that show from Breckenridge Brewery's farm home.
And do we do it just once, or just sometimes are there two streams, or how?
That's a good point, Eric. Sometimes we have to do it twice.
Yeah.
But usually it's just once.
Just once. So just check.
So it's a nice one.
Make sure you choose a good one.
Make sure you choose a good one, and it'll be every Monday.
That's right.
From exactly 5:30.
Always in the same location.
Always in the same location there at Breckenridge Brewery's farm home.
Off Brewery Lane.
Off of Santa Fe and Brewery Lane.
Yes.
Yeah. So come out and join us. You can join us in person. You get your photo taken with Eric and Ben.
Yep. You got to pay to take a photo with you.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So my representation said no photos.
We've got a step stool, though, so someone can stand next to you and be in the photo.
That's why you have to pay. So to pay for this, the
step stool,
the cost of the stool. Yeah. So, Eric, though, we do encourage comments to be left on the YouTube page, and we read all of them.
Every single one.
Mostly the ones about quarter zips and haircuts.
Yep.
That's our real passion.
Your hair. Okay, this has got to stop.
Wow. Ben Swanson is sneezing in here. I'm not sure if...
what's even happening?
Is he really doing that while trying out for the role of podcast supervisor? What's going on with my hair? Is it not good?
No, it's really nice. I think...
Thank you.
We've previously talked, Phil, when your hair gets really long, it's kind of like a wave.
Yeah.
I think right now it kind of looks like Plymouth Rock.
Oh, so thank you.
Yeah.
I did that for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I did that for Thanksgiving. I did condition today, so maybe there's a little extra shine.
Wow.
I go all out for the neutral zone.
When's the last time you dyed it?
I don't do that. It's natural.
I swear.
I try to add in a touch of gray, but it doesn't always come through on camera.
That's true.
Yeah, I'd like to look a little
sophisticated.
Older. Yeah,
a little Clooney.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I heard that George Clooney cuts his own hair, like with sort of like the vacuum thing.
The vacuum
thing? Flowbee.
Yeah, the Flowbee. Not a sponsor, but could be if it wanted to be.
You say that on air?
But I do think that he
heard
that. Yeah, I've heard that in some interviews.
I've never even heard of a Flowbee. Swanson's not showing me. Oh gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, redacted.
We'll get a IT in here.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that wasn't blocked.
Yeah. Swanson's internet history is going to be of interest.
Yeah, the suggested ads are going to be out of control. Oh, yeah. Okay, our friend Lori Latimer Volkman.
Yeah, of course.
Friend of the show, says, I enjoyed the bickering about which player you two are watching moving forward. Well played. Of course, last week I said that I was interested in seeing what Dulcich was able to do, and you just lost your mind a little bit. She enjoyed it.
Yeah. We don't need to get back into that.
And then Jesse Caffarel,
of course,
replied back to that and just said adorable.
Skit.
But then Jesse also left another comment that I thought was a little bit interesting. Last week, we talked about what would be a successful final 8 games for the Broncos.
Yep.
None of us mentioned a loss to the Raiders.
No,
we did not mention that, but it happened.
It's true.
We didn't mention it. Jesse says, Phil, F-I-L.
Yep.
Appreciate that, Jesse. Thank you very much. Which scenario would you prefer? Win out the rest of the season except 2 losses to the Chiefs. Okay, so
this is pre-Raiders.
Pre-Raiders.
Okay.
So 6-2, but both losses were against the Chiefs.
So it would have been 9-7.
Still miss the playoffs, though.
Oh.
Still miss the playoffs. Or beat the Chiefs twice and lose the rest. Still no playoffs. No playoffs in either way.
Which would have been 5-12.
5-12, but 2 wins against the Chiefs. I would have taken the 2 wins against the Chiefs. Because I'm made that way. I'm like that.
You're built different.
I'm diff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that 2 wins against the Chiefs would be just nothing else would matter to me.
Wow.
It would be beautiful.
You're like the definition of a walking moral victory.
No, those would actually be 2 big victories.
But you'd rather
either way, you're not making the playoffs. So what does it matter?
9-7 is or 9-8 is better than 5-12 by a significant margin. You want to give Seattle a top 5 pick or no?
No, I don't want to do that.
Okay, well, but 5-12.
2 Chiefs victories. That'd be nice. At least we'd have that. We'd be like, we swept the Chiefs. You'd have that.
That's true.
You'd have it. Which one would you pick? The wins?
The wins. I'll do the wins.
Eric, I was thinking, do you think that it would be still possible for this Broncos team to end up with a better record than the Seahawks?
This year?
Yeah, this year. Do you think that's possible or no?
I mean, mathematically, it's possible.
Mathematically.
In my brain, it seems unlikely.
That could be one last thing to sort of play for is like, let's see if we could still finish better than the Seahawks.
I mean, I believe the Seahawks are 6-4, 6-5.
Yeah, 6-4.
That's a nice job. They've got a tough schedule coming up, but I still...
That's one little glimmer out there that you're like...
I think at this point, if the Broncos ended up with 7 or 8 wins, that's probably...
Oh, it would be amazing. That would be amazing.
And I mean, that would require the Seahawks to go like 1-6 the rest of the way. Seems unlikely.
Seems unlikely. Yeah.
They have the Rams twice, the Panthers, the Raiders.
Raiders, tough team.
Raiders, really good.
Jets.
Tough team.
Ooh, well, we don't know who's playing quarterback there anymore.
That's true. Well, Zach Wilson got benched.
Yeah.
They also
but at that point, I mean.
49ers and Chiefs.
49ers, good. Not as good as the Broncos, but good.
That's true. Fact check, Broncos beat the 49ers this year.
It's true.
Hang your hat on it. It's nice. Anyway, those are all the ways to get involved in the show. Leave a comment.
That was it? Those are all the comments?
Those were the ones that I wanted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The rest of them.
Tough week, huh?
Yeah, it was tough. A lot of Seahawks fans in there. That's why I kind of wanted to bring up the Seahawks.
They like to just hang around.
Yeah. So they're, of course, talking a lot in Seattle about the possibility of getting a top 5 pick. That's been a topic of discourse there. That's twice I've said discourse in this podcast.
Topic of discourse.
Both times used correctly. Very nice. Thank you very much. Good night. Anyway, those are the ways to get involved in the show. Please be an active participant. This is an interactive show. So we enjoyed that, and we'll have a voicemail from Brandon in or from Iowa.
Yes.
Later on in the show. So let's get into our first topic here, Eric, and this is what you wanted to talk about on this Thanksgiving, and that is injuries.
I love injuries.
Let's each name our top 3 injuries for the Broncos that have impacted the way this season has gone.
Swanson, do you want to read maybe all the guys who are on IR?
Okay, and we'll come back in half an hour.
Maybe just some of the bigger names so people know in case
we're choosing from here.
In case they're
and
not
when
aware.
we say top injuries, we mean the injuries, the worst injuries, the bad ones.
You're doing a great job at this.
It's because it's kind of weird to say what are the top injuries.
The most impactful.
Sounds a little weird.
That was your choice to use that.
And we of course know these guys.
Yeah,
they're human beings to us. We know the impact of an injury, that it has on their mental health.
Yep.
We're not. I just don't want to come off as Petty or something like that. Just name it, like ranking injuries. But these are the most impactful injuries.
Yeah, I know.
Broncos season.
I think it's almost like a compliment, right? That if you're like, being without you was a significant loss for this team.
Yes.
Nothing wrong.
What does it say about the other injuries? They don't matter.
You want to list?
They turn your mic off?
Let's get it. Let's get going. Let's dive in.
Tim Patrick, Javonte Williams, Randy Gregory, Ronald Darby, Garrett Bowles.
Let's forget about the Darby.
Yeah.
Billy Turner, Caden Stearns, Mike Boone. I think those are the bigger ones. Lloyd Cushenberry. Jonas Griffith is on there now.
Been without KJ Hamler for an extended period of time.
Justin Simmons was on IR earlier this year.
Greg Dulcich missed the first 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, he was on IR.
A lot of guys.
Yeah. There's been a lot of players.
A lot of guys. Phil, I would suspect we'll have similar top threes.
Yeah.
But
how do you want to do it? You want to go back and forth, or you want to do...
I'll just start with my top guy.
Okay, yeah.
That's okay.
You're top guy.
Yeah, I think Tim Patrick is the number one guy that the Broncos have missed. This offense obviously has struggled immensely. It's struggled with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy on the field. It's struggled without Jerry Jeudy on the field. It's struggled with Russell Wilson on the field. It's struggled without Russell Wilson on the field. I think they have particularly struggled on third down and in the red zone. And that's an area where Tim Patrick has been very good. He's a guy that you can trust. You can throw it up to. He's going to come down with it. He's going to make a play. And I think they've missed that kind of possession receiver, that guy that can, be a dependable third down threat. And I also think, Phil, there have been times where this offense has just needed a spark. And Tim Patrick, I think in a lot of ways, was the emotional leader of this offense. Obviously, Russell Wilson he's a captain, he's a leader, but no one's quite like as fiery as Tim Patrick. We saw him punch a Raider in the face a couple of years ago. I like that too.
I'm a big fan of that.
I like that. He gets the guys going. And without Tim, I think there's been a missing element to their offense I don't think they've been able to replace.
And because I agree, Tim, I think, is the biggest loss this year. I don't think that when it happened, though, we were like, oh, God. We thought, okay, this was a bad injury and it was going to impact the team. But I think as the season's gone on, we found out just how valuable Tim Patrick is. And I think that one of the ways that it impacts the Broncos is, especially now with also Jeudy and Hamler out, it's literally just Cortland Sutton out there and then a lot of unproven guys. And Sutton ends up playing a lot of snaps. And the way that Sutton plays, it's exerting a lot of energy, especially when he has to jump up and try and make a catch, or when he does make a catch, the yards after the catch, he's just exuding a lot of energy. And so I feel like that impacts him too, where later in the game, we didn't really see a lot of Sutton down the stretch there. And that's one way where it's just him and a lot of unproven guys. And so if there was a Tim out there, it would just make such a big difference. I also agree with you with the emotional leader part of it, where Russ doesn't strike me as quite as fiery as Tim, And so sometimes you just need that fire a little bit. And that's natural to him. That's part of his personality. It's not something that he puts on. And we heard a couple of weeks ago after I think it was the Titans game, that Sutton gathered the team around and gave this big speech. But I think it comes more natural to Tim Patrick. And he was coming on big time certainly last year, but we were expecting a huge season out of him. And just to have that missing and the way the offense is played, I think looking back on it, it was the biggest loss.
Yeah, and people were talking about Tim Patrick last year as the most underrated receiver in the league. And I think there are a lot of teams that if Tim had made it to free agency would have been very interested. That was a great deal for the Broncos to be able to get that done. I still believe that, even though he's going to miss this entire season. But yeah, I think you look at, there's some games where I think if you have Tim Patrick in Seattle, you win that football game.
Yeah, just his personality there.
Personality, but also it gives you an option in the red zone that you can throw it up to him. I think the Broncos were 0 of 4 in that game in the red zone, if I remember correctly.
They have the worst red zone percentage in that.
And Tim has been good in the red zone. Like that's where he's made his impact. I do think, going back to training camp when that injury happened, we thought it would be okay, but we also, as you read the stats off, he had been the most consistent receiver. And I think after that injury, a lot of people were like, oh, maybe we didn't, maybe we underestimated just how valuable Tim is to this offense. And I think the other thing with that too is the earlier these injuries happen, obviously the worse off you are later because
it's the whole season.
And at some point other guys are going to get banged up. And so if, you're able to keep more guys healthy later in the year, maybe you don't have this situation where it's just Cortland. And so that was part of it too, is just when it happened, it was a little bit deflating or more than a little bit at that time.
Oh, that whole day, it was just like, the air out of the balloon.
And so, are the Broncos 8-2 with Tim Patrick? I don't think so, but I do think there's a win here or there you probably could have picked up. And I think this offense would look a little bit different with Tim in there.
Yeah, most definitely. Should I name my next guy?
Sure, yeah.
I went back and forth between two guys at this spot, but I think that I'll say Randy Gregory.
Okay.
Just because he was playing at such a high level when he got hurt. He had the forced fumbles. He was just making game-changing plays. Then he gets hurt. You lose that immediate production. And then, of course, the Broncos have moved on from Bradley Chubb. And now it's like Nick Bonito and Randy Gregory and Nick Bonito and Baron Browning and Jonathan Cooper, Jonathan Kongbo. If you just had a proven guy out there, maybe there'd be a little bit more fear from opposing offenses. And Randy Gregory and Baron Browning, you feel pretty good going into a game. But just missing his presence, a proven guy, I think that's impacted this defense. Obviously, it still had a lot of success. But last week, for example, I feel like having a guy like Gregory, maybe he makes a big play there. Maybe the Raiders aren't able to drive down the field and kick the game tying field goal and then in overtime win it. So I just think having a guy like him, he was one of the bigger free agent signings this offseason. And then just to have him battle these injuries, we sort of knew that this was a thing with Gregory coming in, but just to have him be on IR and miss these last games here where really the Broncos season was on the line during this period of time, and for him to just not be out there, I think has ultimately impacted the season significantly.
Yeah, you need a guy in the final moments of a game that can end the game. We saw Bradley Chubb do it against San Francisco. He sacked Jimmy G and made a big play. But then you think of games like the Colts, where I know Bradley had a strip sack and the Broncos weren't able to recover, but you need someone to make a play there. You think about this last game against the Raiders, an end of game drive, you need somebody to make a play there. And so I do think they've missed that elite pass rusher. He's missed maybe a couple more weeks than we expected, but not too much more time based on when they put him on IR. And you're right, Randy was playing at a really high level. I really like Randy from our interactions with him. He seems like a great guy to have on this defense. And so you've definitely missed his presence. I would just say it's a little bit self-inflicted here because the Broncos chose to trade away Bradley Chubb. And so maybe you don't feel that impact as much if Bradley Chubb was still on this team, but they also do different things. And so they're not quite the same player. And you're right, being without Randy has been an issue for this team.
And it's been in these crucial games, like these games where there were must-win games for the Broncos to still have a chance at the playoffs, and he's unavailable. So,
yeah. Well, I think you would hope if you were the Broncos when you put him on IR, hey, hopefully we can beat the Colts at home and beat the Jets at home and beat the Jaguars, and beat the Raiders. Hopefully we can win these football games that coming into the year, certainly, Phil, and even, the Broncos were favored in a lot of these games. Hopefully you're able to win the games you're favored in and then get Randy back for Baltimore, Kansas City, the Rams. That's when you were looking at the schedule at the time he got hurt, that was probably the thinking. And unfortunately, the Broncos were not able to, quote, win the easy ones that would have set them.
No, they did not. We were even talking in the press room I think it was on Monday, we were like, gosh, that final stretch there when the Raiders tied the game and then won it, that just felt like a moment where like a guy like Von Miller would make a play. You know, like just somebody like that, the Broncos are missing, you know.
It's kind of silly to me.
It did feel like those are times like when Von makes those plays.
I don't disagree with that, but it's kind of silly to me to be like, man, it'd be good if the Broncos had a Hall of Famer.
Well, yes,
like
of course.
That's kind of a, it's like a,
Well, they got rid of a Hall of Famer.
Right? It'd be like, man, the Broncos would be in really good shape if they had prime Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't think of that.
Yeah. It just was a specific scenario where Von has tended to come up big.
Yes.
So it just felt like that exact situation the Broncos were in. That was when you missed a guy like that.
It'd be great if Aaron Donald was on this defense.
That was, but like if you're like, oh yeah, if Peyton Manning was still here, that's sort of just a general idea. This is a very specific situation where you're like, God, that is right when Von would have made a play or something, you know?
Yeah.
The other thing, sometimes you get grumpy and then you just sort of cannot see the other side of the coin. You're just like so stuck to you're like, this is stupid.
Do I sound like the grumpy one?
Fact check.
I understand where Eric's coming from. It is kind of.
Well, yeah, of course it would be nice to have a guy like Von Miller, but it just felt like that situation where a guy like Von would come up.
You could be like on that play against Von. Like this is a time when Champ Bailey would have made a play.
It's true. That is true. Fact check true.
Like you can just start being like, if we had really good players, we'd be better.
Yeah, but Von was here last year.
Yeah,
that run play.
Yeah.
The point here is that the media contingent that covers this team thinks that if the Broncos had good players, they would be better.
It's weird.
I mean, I can't deny it. I agree with the point. The Broncos would have been better with Von Miller in that situation.
Can't say anything around.
I agree with you. I agree.
One thing you talked about was that Randy is an elite guy, right?
Uh-huh.
I do think there is a sort of a thing with this Broncos team where they've got some young guys who like play well at times, but they are just across the board sort of missing elite players at their positions, you know, where you're like, this guy is a top 3 player at their position. I think the Broncos probably just have 2 of those guys. Sometimes they're missing that guy. I would say that Pat is a top 3 guy. And then I think Justin maybe could be considered a top 3 safety, I would say.
Yeah, maybe overall. I don't know about this.
I would say maybe not his production this season, but yes.
Pat is definitely.
Yes. But I think across the board, they're just missing that sort of, we talked about that with the wide receiver position. Like maybe that's an area where they're going to address to get an elite guy. But I do think that that's sort of like a thing with this entire team where heading into the season, you're like, this roster is like pretty good, right? But you're counting on some of these guys who are like pretty good to take a step up and become elite. They don't just already have elite guys on this team.
Right. A lot of it was based on what is the potential of Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy with an elite quarterback. What is the potential of this defense if they play with a lead, that sort of thing. You're right. I mean, you look around the league at teams that win Super Bowls.
They got elite guys all over the place.
They tend to have, there's some stat, I don't know what it is, but you tend to have like 3 to 5 Hall of Famers, I would guess, on your roster. I think if you look at this Broncos roster as currently constructed, you don't have that.
Yeah.
You probably have, I mean, Russell Wilson is going to make the Hall of Fame.
Is he?
Yes, I would. Yes.
Okay.
He's obviously not playing at that standard right now, but I still think that what he's done in his career, that he'll end up making the Hall of Fame.
I would say that before this year, he was on a Hall of Fame path. I think that's the safe way to say.
Okay. You can be safe. I'll say he's going to make the Hall of Fame.
Okay. I mean, I hope that he does.
Yeah. It sounds like it. And then the other guy who has like Hall of Fame talent, I think, is Pat. Yeah. And so obviously he's got a long, long way to go. But you're right. There isn't that. You don't see that Hall of Fame type talent elsewhere. And so they've got to find some guys that are. And that's the other thing that's difficult when we're veering a little bit, but when you trade draft picks away, that you can find really good, solid starters in a Bonito and a Dulcich, but you probably won't find.
Harder to find.
Yeah, it's more difficult to find like a blue chip guy like a Pat Surtain. So
yeah, And in free agency, those guys don't tend to change teams.
Right.
So
I will
it's harder to just pick up a guy like that.
Yeah, of course. With Randy and Tim, I think the other thing that this Broncos team misses is that they both have an edge to them.
Yeah.
And I think we heard Derek Wolfe when he was here, he retired. He said, one of the things this team needs to find is like those guys like a Keith
some dog in them.
Yeah. A TJ Ward, a Chris Harris, like these guys that, I don't know, they're just like they lived on the edge, you know?
Fiery.
Yeah, fiery. Yeah. And I think Randy on the field is like that. Tim Patrick at all times is like that. And so they I think you miss that because I don't know right now if there's a guy. There's probably, I mean, you could probably think of one, but there's not a lot of guys right now that you're like, man, that guy could just go nuts.
This is sort of veering off of our topic because we each need to name a third other injured guy. But do you think that, say, when a guy like Melvin, who the Broncos waived this week, when he left, the vibe from a lot of these guys they were like, we're sad to see him go. Really like, they were like, this guy's our friend. This guy's our teammate. We're sad to see him leave. But I feel like some of those players you just mentioned, they'd be like, get out of here. You're costing us games. You know, like some of them have that fiery side to them where they're like, instead of just being like, it's okay, like you're gonna be fine, like it's like keep your head up, they'd be like, no, you shouldn't play again, you're hurting the team. This team does not have that kind of a personality.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speculate on whether Randy Gregory and Tim Patrick are happy that.
No, I'm not saying those. Sorry, not Tim Patrick or Randy Gregory, but like a Derek Wolfe or a Aqib Talib or Chris Harris Jr. Well, I think it's safe to say they would have acted like that. There's like that kind of a
yeah. I mean,
you got to hold your teammates to a standard kind of thing like that. You know,
we also don't know what happened in the locker room following those games. I mean, there have been times where guys have given impassioned speeches. There's been skirmishes in the locker room over the past, not this year, but in the past that like fans don't ever hear about, the media doesn't ever hear about, where a guy will get into it with a teammate and say, hey, you cost us that, or like, you got to stop doing those things happen. And so we don't know necessarily if that maybe going back to the Raiders game, or I think he fumbled in the Colts game, right? Maybe not.
I think the Colts game, he was down, but then the ball came out.
But I would think in some of these situations that there's been maybe some of those potential exchanges. I would say just because Courtland Sutton doesn't get up to the box and say, man, we're glad this guy's gone, doesn't mean that internally some of these guys are like, okay, I'm glad someone's being held accountable here. You're right. Aqib Talib would probably get up there and just say it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that's the right way to do it either. As long as you have those guys in the locker room, I don't think you need it to be expressed in the media.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I do think that it's important to be a good teammate, obviously. I'm not saying like
Chris Harris didn't know the long snapper's name.
Yeah, that is true. So I'm not saying that I think that there's one way you got to act in front of the media and another way, but I do think that showing some fieriness sometimes in the media is a good thing.
Yeah.
I do think that. But obviously, I don't think it's good to always just bash your teammates or that kind of stuff. But
I would say last year, there were probably some guys that were not disappointed that Vaughn was traded based on all the rumors we heard about Halloween and that sort of thing. Nobody got up there and bashed Vaughn. Everybody was like, oh, well, Miss Vaughn, he was a great teammate.
But you think behind closed doors, maybe there was some of that?
Yeah. At least not from everybody, but at least a couple of guys.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, we don't exactly know what goes on.
It doesn't make you look good personally to bash a guy on his way out.
Correct. I agree. But maybe prior to this.
Prior bashing that leads to the
prior bashing. Out. Maybe not always terrible. Okay. Eric, who's your third guy that was the most impactful injury?
I'm trying to think of one here that's outside of the obvious, but a little bit difficult. So I'll go with Javonte Williams.
That's who I think is that's
the same list.
I was going back and forth between Javonte or Randy is in terms of number 2, but I do think that those three guys are
the clear cut ones. Listen, the running game was not very good with Javonte in there either, and part of that was the offensive line, I think, struggled when Quinn Miners got hurt against Seattle and missed a little bit of time. But any hopes, I think, of the running game really getting back on track, really getting going, being something an opposing defense had to game plan against, some of that went out the window when Javonte got hurt. And, we talk about being fiery and all that stuff. Javonte was not one to say much or, be fiery himself, but the plays he made, I think, would fire guys up. Like when you're carrying Marlon Humphrey on your back for 20 yards, or you break a tackle and you pick up an extra 10 yards, or you run through a guy in Kansas City, that fires up the rest of the team. And I think some of those momentum kind of changing runs, the Broncos have missed that this season.
And I think that we just hadn't seen enough from Javonte to really sum up his year yet. I do think that he was ready for a second-year breakout. And certainly the Broncos were counting on that heading into the season for him to be one of the top running backs in this league. That was sort of the vibe around the facility was, hey, Javonte is going to be a guy. And so when he goes down the way that he did, there just hasn't been much of a running game. And now, heading into the season, you thought you had this two-horse, with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. You thought that was going to be a big strength of this team. And we talked about it a lot where we were like, the running game is going to set up the play action and they're going to hit these deep shots. And now it's just not there, and it's like, hey, hopefully Latavius Murray and Marlon Mack are going to bail us out this week. That's sort of the feeling instead of that being a strong part of this offense. And I also think that when you just look at injuries overall, it's easier to just pick a couple of guys from the offensive side because that's been the side of the ball that's hurt the Broncos the most. So I do think there's been some defensive injuries over the course of the season that have hurt, but they've been able to figure out ways to continue to play at a high level without some of those guys.
Yeah. I mean, the K'Wan Williams one hurt, and I think will continue to hurt. I think there's a decent chance the Broncos win that football game against the Raiders if K'Wan Williams is healthy. Just they missed having that third kind of top tier corner.
Yeah. I also think that
killed him.
They did.
Well, so can you look up Javante's stats as Phil goes here?
I was also going to say I think that Caden Stearns injury is a big one too. Maybe not just in terms of what he was going to really bring to this team, but he had a couple of interceptions. He had 2 interceptions in the Colts game, was it?
Yep.
And I also think that he was a guy who was on the rise. And so he's losing out on a little bit of developmental time here. And I also think that he would be playing a lot of snaps for Kareem Jackson at this point, I believe. So I do think that while you're not he was a starter per se that went down to injury, I do think that Caden Stearns is a player on the rise who at this point in the season, I think would be taking snaps from Kareem. That's how I sort of feel about it.
Interesting.
So,
okay, Javonte Williams stats. He had 47 rushes for 204 yards, no touchdowns, an average of 4.3 yards per carry, which is kind of interesting because last year he had 4.4 yards per carry, so comparable there.
That is very interesting.
16 receptions for 76 yards.
What was his high for a game this year?
75 yards against Houston.
Yeah, I mean, we just didn't see. We only really saw 3 games, 3.5. So I don't know if that's enough to just make a complete judgment on a guy for what he would have been this season. But I do think that he didn't have the start to the season that he was hoping for. It wasn't like he hit the scene and was a dominant running back, but
right.
I think the idea was that he was going to continue to build into that.
Yeah. That first game was interesting. He had 43 yards rushing, but he led the team in receptions, I think, against Seattle with 11 catches.
He did have the fumble at the goal line.
Right. But I'm just saying, when you looked at how he might have been used,
the passing game.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously this team is much better with Javonte Williams than without. I think a lot of people talked about, especially nationally, him blowing people away in year 2. And we hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah. We hadn't seen it.
That's kind of why for me at least, he's not a little higher up that list, but obviously a big loss.
Yeah. So those are our three guys. If you have a guy that we forgot or you thought maybe deserves to be in that top three, let us know. Leave a comment, write an email, something like that.
Yeah.
Bowles is in there, like given the protection issues.
I do think that the chemistry that Bowles had playing alongside Dalton Reisner, I do think that you missed some of that. But it does also seem like Bowles was not having like that huge, that he did not look like 2020 Bowles.
No.
But yeah, I mean, those injuries along the offensive line obviously have been a huge problem. I don't know was it on the podcast, Eric, where in the preseason I was like, I'm not sure about this offensive line. And you're like, don't worry about it.
I don't know. I don't even know if that happened.
You think that happened?
I don't know.
Yeah, you were like, don't worry about anything. And I was like, okay. Yeah, I think that happened. Okay, should we move on to topic number 2?
Sure.
Okay, we're talking about Thanksgiving, Eric.
Okay.
Who are a couple of guys on the team that you'd love to sit at the table with this year?
Oh, wow.
Who would you who would you invite to the Delilah estate? You give them, you call down to your gatekeeper and you'll be like, here are 3 names that are coming by, let them in. And then, you tell your butler, like, hey, when they get here, please bring them to the dining room.
Yeah. Do you want to start since I wasn't prepared for this since
you weren't?
No, you didn't tell me ahead of time. So,
well, just who do you think are like some fun guys in the locker room that you'd like to have come over? I would say Cortland Sutton. I would like to have come over. I really, I've had some fun conversations with Cortland over the years, and I think that he would provide some interesting conversation at the dinner table. Nice. So who's like a guy? Who do you think would be fun?
Like Kareem Jackson would be entertaining.
Yeah. K-Jack TV. We only got one this year so far.
That's true.
Yeah.
Why not more?
Good. That's a good question.
K-Jack. I really like Josie Jewell.
Josie Jewell would be great.
Yeah.
Of course, he grew up on a turkey farm.
Yeah. So he could just bring his own.
He could bring a fresh turkey.
Yeah.
Be nice.
Still gobbling.
What, really?
Yeah.
Some of our vegetarian listeners probably wouldn't like it. They don't want to hear this. What?
So he was going to bring
gobbling.
You think if he brings a turkey,
much better if you don't know what happened.
Yeah,
much better.
Yeah, you think people who are vegetarian are like,
better.
how did this happen?
Yeah, I do. What about a guy like DJ Jones? He could probably
bring some barbecue.
Maybe he smoked a turkey, or something like that. That could be nice.
Possible.
Of course, you've dabbled in some smoking.
You have?
Meats.
So the Surgeon General
of meats.
Yeah, like a nice pork shoulder.
Meats, yeah. Yeah, you like to do.
We, of course, would both invite Sir Lloyd Cushenberry III.
Of course.
It
could be dangerous, though, inviting some of the bigger guys. You might not get as much food as you might not have
here.
Leftovers.
Well, they eat a lot. That's not shaming anybody. They eat a lot. You might have to cook a couple of turkeys.
Couple turkeys. Yeah.
Couple turkeys.
Don't talk about how they end up there.
No, they just end up and they taste nice.
The stork drops them off.
Yep.
Randy Gregory, I think, would be fun.
Oh, he would be funny.
Yeah.
That's a good little table there.
Yeah. How many people?
Nice table.
Just 3.
How many you get?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got Josie, K-Jack, and Randy. Is that?
I think so.
Got? Yeah.
All defensive guys.
Yeah.
They've earned it.
And who would I have? Sutton, DJ Jones.
Yep.
Who else would be funny with those guys? You got to think about the dynamic.
We know which table Brandon Walker's choosing.
Mine. Oh, what do you think? Just for Josie?
Yes, I do.
I'm trying to think. Do you think Tim would be fun?
Tim, yeah.
Tim Patrick would be fun. That's what I would say. Did I forget anybody? Well, we both mentioned Lloyd.
Lloyd, of course. He could just maybe stop by each.
Yeah.
Oh, you forgot Dalton. You guys are close.
Yeah, that's true.
Wiggins.
Dalton would be nice.
Yeah. Wiggins, Colorado.
Wiggins just down the road.
Yep. Little offensive line representation.
The other Thanksgiving chatter I thought we could mention was this is we just chatted about this in the office.
We chattered about it.
Yeah. traditional Thanksgiving foods.
Yeah.
The food, how does it most resemble the player personality?
Yeah, I ate this.
I know you do. You got one there? Or Swanson?
No.
Wow. Okay, fine. I thought it was funny.
Well, what do you think?
Oh, I said that DJ Jones was sort of like stuffing because he's stuffing the running backs.
Nice.
So I thought that was, yeah.
So it's just
that was nice.
Based.
Yeah. It's sort of like a funny discourse.
3 for 3.
Nice work.
You got who on this team is cranberry sauce? I think it's fun. Who would be cranberry sauce?
A little. I don't know.
A little tart.
Yeah.
But it tastes good with the turkey. Got a little edge.
Yeah. What do you think?
Maybe Draymond Jones.
Yeah.
He's got some edge. He's kind of. But when he plays alongside, when he plays with the whole defensive line, good things happen.
Good things happen.
When he plays alongside DJ, it works.
Yeah.
Cranberry sauce on its own maybe doesn't always work.
Yep.
But when you pair it together with the whole meal, it's nice.
Yeah. Okay. Who would sweet potatoes be?
Sweet potato yams.
Yeah.
How would you describe the sweet potato?
Sweet.
Yeah, like sort of everybody loves a sweet potato.
Yeah.
Who's like just like a really likable everybody? K-Jack maybe.
Okay.
The sweet potato. Yeah. Mashed potatoes. Maybe that's Josie Joel. You just mash it. He just hits.
Yeah.
That's a couple big hits. He's the mashed potatoes. A strong staple. Like you gotta have. Josie Jewell is the mashed potatoes. He's the mashed potatoes of the meal.
Yeah, that's true.
Who is the turkey?
Oh.
Who's the turkey? Because if the turkey doesn't work, the whole meal it's no good.
You're trying to guide us.
If you're like the mashed potatoes, really good. Mashed potatoes, really good. Cranberry sauce, good. Stuffing, good. But if that turkey doesn't taste right, it don't work. Go ahead. Who's the turkey? Who's the turkey?
Brandon McManus, because you want the turkey leg.
Oh, the leg. There you go. Nice save, Eric. Nice save. I was already thinking about the headline for this one. Yeah. Turkey leg. That's big.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah. Are you more of a white meat or a dark meat?
I like dark meat. I like the leg.
More flavor then. Yeah. I think I agree. Swanson?
Yeah, I like the dark meat.
Yeah. Okay. Any other? Who's pumpkin pie?
I hope not.
What's a pumpkin pie? You got any dessert? Dessert? You need dessert. Who is the pumpkin pie? Pumpkin pie is interesting because not everybody likes it.
Yeah.
But the people who do, they really like pumpkin pie. I love pumpkin pie. I don't think you like pumpkin pie.
I don't.
And then also, like, pumpkin is a vegetable, but it's in a pie now. So it's like kind of like you're not quite sure what to make of a pumpkin pie.
I'm not sure what to make of any of this.
On one side, it's a vegetable, but it's also a dessert. So that should kind of guide you with a player. Like who do you think is got? Sometimes is one way, other times completely different.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Who would you say?
That's deep.
But it is deep.
I don't know.
Watson, who's a pumpkin pie? Who's pumpkin pie? Come on, who's pumpkin pie?
Who is pumpkin pie? Who is pumpkin pie?
That's a Jeopardy answer. Who is pumpkin pie?
Yeah, that's a yeah. So what's the question? Who's the answer? Yeah.
Bowman Moyer.
Oh, interesting. Why do you say that?
I don't know.
You just name a guy?
Get to move forward.
Gosh. Well, this is the last one, I think. Pumpkin pie.
Do you have a guy?
I'm trying to think of like somebody who's kind of fits that.
Well, I'll say Garrett Bowles. Some people like him. Some people still don't like him.
It's a good answer.
But he's a sweet guy, nice guy.
Yeah.
I think overall he helps complete the offensive line the way the pumpkin pie completes the meal.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So Garrett Bowles is pumpkin pie. Yeah. So let's recap here.
Let's do it.
Brandon McManus is the turkey.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Because of the turkey leg.
The turkey leg.
Turkey leg. DJ Jones is a stuffing.
Is that who you would say the turkey is?
Yeah, of course I would. Yeah. DJ Jones is the stuffing. Okay.
Stuffs the run game.
Josie Jewell is the mashed potatoes.
Because he mashes
people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Noticing a
cranberry sauce is Draymond Jones.
Because he's edgy or something.
Yeah. Well, on his own, like, okay, there's some edge there. You're not sure what to make of it. Together works really nice.
Okay.
I guess we forgot a gravy. Who would be the gravy?
Skip that one.
Maybe we just
Kareem Jackson, you said was sweet potatoes.
Yeah, Kareem Jackson's the sweet potatoes.
I remember
everybody
why.
likes them. Yeah. Yeah. And then Garrett Bowles is the pumpkin pie.
Yes.
I think we nailed it.
I think we did.
I think that was really good.
One of our better segments. You want to talk about ham for 3 minutes?
This was, I think, relevant. And I think people will enjoy this. Yeah. All right. Time to get to shout outs. Oh, no. Should we do the voicemail first?
Sure.
Okay, let's do the voicemail first. This is Brandon.
In and from Iowa.
And from, I believe, Iowa.
Hey, fellas. Brandon from Iowa calling in. I haven't done one of these in a little while here, but man, what another close loss to an AFC West opponent, another close loss in general. Man, what a just killer. Gotta stay positive though. We got some games left against some other teams, and I think we can get some more manageable wins going forward. So looking forward to that. My question to both of you is: did you see any improvement? And if you did, where was it along with Clint Kubiak calling the plays? I saw a few plays myself that I knew was a good play call in the game today, but just wondered how your thoughts were with that play calling. Defense, you know, they had a bad game sometimes, and what a bummer to get blown out at the end there with some busted coverages. And Devontae Adams, go figure, right? Walking it off. So hope to see a better Broncos team in the future, and hopefully start racking up some dubs. Thanks, guys.
Brandon, thank you very much. What do you think about his question there?
Yeah, I thought there were a couple signs. I think especially early, you saw the ability to move the ball down the field. Not necessarily in like these giant chunk plays, which I think in some ways were almost limiting the Broncos because they were so dependent on the 30 to 40 to 50 yard play to score. You saw more, 15 yarders, 20 yarders consistently being able to stay ahead of the chains, not get to third down on that opening drive. And then late in the game, you make some conversions, or certainly at the end of the first half, make some conversions to get down there inside the 10. Late in the game, Cortland Sutton made some big catches. So I think there's signs that you're getting closer. But again, Phil, as we've said many times now, not about being close. You got to find a way to do it, and have to get at least 10 to 14 more points a game to be consistently competitive.
Yeah, I mean, they got to score more touchdowns. But I do think that Clint called a good game. I think that there was good balance between pass and run, and you found some consistent drives. But, yeah, once again, in the third quarter, they just disappeared.
Yeah.
So got to continue to make those adjustments throughout the game and improve. But, hey, that was his first time calling plays all year, so maybe there'll be some things there where he can build on that and continue to improve. So
hope so.
And the other thing is it frees up Nathaniel Hackett to do some other stuff. He said that he had been missing some meetings here and there when he was working on the play calls during the week. So thank you very much, Brandon. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our regular commenters, voicemailers,
emailers,
tweeters. Yeah.
Listeners.
Really all of NZ Nation. Yeah. Eric, any shout outs you'd like to get to?
Well, in addition to NZ Nation, Phil, I think we should obviously shout out our dear friend Reed.
Reed makes the whole thing go.
Reed makes the whole thing happen. We're appreciative of what he does for this show. Yep. You wouldn't be able to see us in this lovely studio if it weren't for Reed.
That is true.
So
Reed was wearing a corduroy jacket the other day.
Yeah, he was pulling it off.
I told him, I was like, yeah, it's working.
Not everybody can just have the confidence to wear a collared shirt.
We of course do that.
We do.
Yeah.
Not everybody. Reed also does.
What about Swanson? Do you think he could do it every day though?
No.
I don't think so either. What do you think, Swanson? Do you think he could do it?
Swanson can wear a smock like nobody's business.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Painter's jacket, painter's coat.
Yeah, that is true.
So Reed, our friend Liz Gerald's.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, this is community time.
Community season.
Yeah, really. SZN. Yeah. So shout out to Liz. Handing out some turkeys and stuff this week.
Right? Did a little bit of that Tuesday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Tuesday night. He worked with this group called Family Promise. You know, kind of a smaller organization. It's cool when you see guys do that.
Yes, of course. K-Jack did that a couple of weeks ago. With
K-Jack?
I said K-Jack did that. I don't put thes in front of everything.
Sounded like you did.
I don't know. We'll have to go back and listen. Check the tape.
Maybe your ears are
before you
just
edit it out.
You're
like, God, I gotta find that the and take it out.
He did that with Food Bank of the Rockies. The Food Bank.
Yep.
Yeah. So Broncos getting out there trying to help out this Denver community, which is nice.
Of course.
Yeah. Any other shout outs? I was trying to think.
No.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
I think so.
It's good.
That was good.
Yeah,
nice.
Reed and Liz, that's big. Yeah. Those are some go-tos.
Pat Sertan.
And Pat Sertan and K-Jack.
And the K-Jack.
The K-Jack fella.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Let us know what you think.
Talking to me or the listeners?
Eric is a little bit grumpy.
I'm fine.
He was like, let's name our top 15 injuries. And I was like, how about we do 3 injuries and then we do some Thanksgiving fun? And you were like, Rrr. So I don't know.
I'm glad we did those. It was a lot of fun.
You guys were laughing?
Yeah, with you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Let us know what you think. You got a comment? Just put it right there on the YouTube page.
That's right.
A 707 neutral. Leave a voicemail. You can make it the best gobble gobble noise. We'll put it on. You gobble gobble. We'll put it on.
Perfect.
And also the neutralzoneshow@gmail.com.
All important.
Yeah. Or come out and join us at Breckenridge Brewery's Farm Home in Littleton. We're there on Monday from exactly 5:30 to 6:15. That's going to do it for us. For Reed upstairs making this whole magic happen. For Ben Swanson supervising this whole ordeal. And Eric Dalala, I am Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone. Gobble, gobble.